aftermath of Jannik Sinner's historic Wimbledon title win, a cloud of controversy has emerged, not from the match itself, but from the comments of fellow tennis professional Nick Kyrgios, who publicly questioned the legitimacy of Sinner's recent success. The Australian player, known for his outspoken and often polarizing takes, has reignited discussion around a doping case that surrounded Sinner in 2024, suggesting that the Italian's Wimbledon victory should come with an asterisk. Sinner, now a four-time Grand Slam champion and current world #1, defeated Carlos Alcaraz in 4 sets in the 2025 Wimbledon final. The victory marked his second major title of the season, following his triumph at the Australian Open in January. However, just hours after lifting the trophy at center court, Kyrgios took to social media, posting a cryptic but pointed remark that many interpreted as a reference to Sinner's past doping violation. The controversy traces back to early 2024, when the International Tennis Integrity Agency announced that Jannik Sinner had tested positive on 2 occasions for clostebol, an anabolic steroid banned under the World Anti-Doping Agency Code. According to the International Tennis Integrity Agency, the positive tests had occurred in late 2023 and were discovered during routine and competition testing. Following an investigation, Sinner was handed a 3-month suspension, retroactively starting from February 9th to May 4th, 2024. Crucially, the sanction did not affect his participation in any of the 4 Grand Slam tournaments, which likely helped ease the competitive and reputational impact of the case. Originally, the World Anti-Doping Agency had considered seeking a very harsh suspension of up to 2 years. However, after lengthy negotiations between WADA and Sinner's legal representatives, a private agreement was reached in February 2025. The deal, made under case resolution guidelines, reduced the penalty to a 3-month suspension and was accepted without further appeals. It allowed Sinner to resume competition and training. Consequently, Sinner did not miss the French Open, Wimbledon, or the US Open, and he went on to win both the US Open in 2024, the Australian Open in early 2025, and most recently Wimbledon 2025. An independent tribunal accepted Sinner's explanation for the presence of the banned substance. According to his account, the source of the clostebol contamination was a healing spray used by his physiotherapist to treat a cut on his own hand. The physio then, allegedly without full knowledge of the spray's contents, gave Sinner a massage on his back and feet shortly afterward. This indirect contact, according to the hearing, caused trace levels of the steroid to appear in Sinner's system. The panel ruled that Sinner bore no significant fault or negligence, citing a lack of intent to dope. Still, the ruling didn't come without consequences. Sinner quietly parted ways with the physiotherapist in question before the 2024 US Open. He returned to competition shortly after his suspension ended and went on to win the US Open that September, further building his case as one of the sport's elite players. Nick Kyrgios, however, has remained one of the few players willing to openly question both the ruling and the handling of the situation, but he was not alone in the criticism. Several current and former players expressed discomfort with how the case was handled behind the scenes. Novak Djokovic was among the most vocal, stating in February 2025 that a majority of players in the locker room believed the process lacked fairness and transparency. "It appears that you can almost affect the outcome if you are a top player," Djokovic said, comparing the leniency in Sinner's case to the longer suspensions given to players like Simona Halep and Tara Moore. He called for a complete overhaul of the anti-doping framework, citing inconsistent enforcement and favoritism as persistent issues. Kyrgios, in press conferences earlier this year, particularly during the Brisbane International, criticized the tennis world for what he perceived as a reluctance to address doping cases transparently and aggressively. He referred not only to Sinner's case, but also to Iga Świątek's positive test in early 2024, which was also ruled as inadvertent and not punishable by suspension. Kyrgios further added that it was especially problematic that both the men's and women's world #1s, Sinner and Świątek, had been involved in doping cases, regardless of intent. While both were found to have been inadvertently contaminated and received minimal or no suspensions, Kyrgios maintained that their presence in Grand Slam finals shortly after their cases was not a good look for the sport. He stressed that fans and fellow players alike deserve more transparency and accountability from governing bodies. 2 world #1s both getting done for doping is disgusting for our sport, Kyrgios said at the time. "It's a horrible look. Tennis integrity right now, and everyone knows it, but no one wants to speak about it. It's awful." Kyrgios further expressed disbelief at the timeline and the response from Sinner's team. "I pay my team hundreds of thousands of dollars to be the professionals they are, to make sure that doesn't happen," he said. "So they knew it happened. Why did they wait 5 to 6 months to do anything about it? He kept his team for 5 months. That doesn't make sense." In Kyrgios' view, the danger was not just the alleged contamination, but the precedent it set. He questioned why the delay between the positive tests and the suspension had not raised more red flags, and why Sinner continued to compete during that period. He argued that if top players were seen as receiving special treatment in anti-doping cases, the credibility of clean competition could be irreparably damaged. It makes it look like if you're high enough in the rankings, you can negotiate your way out of it, Kyrgios told reporters. The Australian went on to say that if he were in a similar situation, if his own physiotherapist had caused him to fail a doping test, he would have fired them immediately and distanced himself entirely. Instead, Sinner kept working with the same trainer for months after the positive test before eventually ending the relationship. "Someone like me, I would never in my entire life ever try and dope in this sport," Kyrgios said, referring to his own injury-plagued return to competition. "There are so many things out there that could speed up healing, help me recover, help me get back quicker, but that's just not who I am." His underlying argument was that Sinner's success in the months following the positive test, particularly his Grand Slam victories, are tainted by a scandal that, in Kyrgios' view, was not handled with the transparency or accountability the sport requires. "For me, when people say I'm disrespectful to the sport, I think someone like that, who has tried to cheat the process, even unintentionally, and not done it completely on their own merit, is the disrespectful one," he added. Kyrgios' statements have been met with mixed reactions. Some fans and commentators have praised him for being one of the only voices in professional tennis willing to speak frankly about doping, but most have criticized him for resurfacing a case that was already reviewed and judged by the ITIA, and for implying that Sinner's accomplishments, including his Wimbledon title, are undeserved. For his part, Sinner has largely remained quiet about the matter. He addressed the issue in brief during press conferences in 2024, stating that he accepted the decision, cooperated fully with the investigation, and moved on. Since then, his focus has remained on the court, where he has continued to win at an extraordinary rate and solidify his status as one of the best players in the world. Sinner, for his part, later opened up about the emotional toll the suspension took on him. Speaking ahead of the 2025 Italian Open, he described feeling lost and unsure of his future in tennis during the enforced break. "At the start, I was confused because I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do," he said. "I went home to stay with my family and understand what really mattered to me." He added that while the ruling cleared his name, the experience changed his perspective and reminded him of the importance of those who support him off the court. Carlos Alcaraz, Sinner's top rival and frequent Grand Slam opponent, also commented on the situation. Ahead of their clash at the 2024 US Open, Alcaraz said he believed, "There's something behind all of this that many people don't know." While acknowledging that Sinner had tested positive, he added, "There must be a reason why they let him keep playing. I believe in clean sport." Alcaraz maintained a respectful tone throughout, later congratulating Sinner publicly after their match at the Italian Open, saying, "I'm not going to get tired of saying how amazing a person and athlete you are." Even after his loss at the 2025 Wimbledon final, Alcaraz made no mention of this, just congratulated the Italian and said he hopes that their rivalry will continue for many years. Whether or not Kyrgios' comments will shift public perception remains to be seen, but one thing is certain: the debate around doping in tennis and how the sport manages both enforcement and image is far from over. In Jannik Sinner's case, his legacy will likely be shaped by both his remarkable achievements on the court and the scrutiny that followed him through the doping controversy. As for Nick Kyrgios, his role in this story adds a complicated layer. It should come as no surprise that he is once again at the center of a controversy. Throughout his playing career, Kyrgios was one of the sport's most polarizing figures, known as much for his electric talent as for his on-court meltdowns, fines, suspensions, and off-court antics. He often clashed with officials, mocked opponents, and made headlines for everything from tanking matches to calling out fellow players and the ATP itself. In many ways, he embraced the role of tennis's outspoken provocateur, unfiltered and unwilling to conform to the sport's traditional standards.